He is a former NFL player turned seven-figure sales producer and business coach, helping people scale their companies from 6 to 7 figures and 7 to 8.
If you actually want to build a business outside of yourself, you need people.
Yes.
There's a lot of small businesses where it's, all right, cool, I got this problem. People don't work hard. The people don't understand the vision as much as I do. That's where the vision of building a company dies. That thought right there. They don't realize it, but that's where it dies. Because you can't involve anybody else. If you have a culture I'm afraid to approach with something that's new, you're never gonna get anything new unless you think of it. You just stunted your growth and stunted your vast reach to people.
One piece of wisdom for a newer entrepreneur, someone that is just getting started, would you tell them, hey, I would work on this right now at the stage you're in? Before we get into today's episode, I am here at Good Company Coffee in Fort Worth, Texas, because we are doing an event, our first event of Faithustle on February 7th, 7 to 9 p.m. to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Faithustle. It's gonna be incredible. We're doing a live panel podcast with my boys Hunter Swain, Jamal Miller, and John Cardis. We're gonna talk about how to do business God's way. It's gonna be incredible. We're gonna have networking. If you're a Christian entrepreneur, pull up. This is for you. If you're a Christian content creator or influencer, pull up. This is for you. We got so many incredible people and business owners are gonna be pulling up in the space to connect, to network, and to see about doing business together. We're gonna have an area for free headshots. We're gonna have some free gifts. And did I mention the whole event is free? We are giving back to you because of what you've given to us as part of the Faithustle community. So I want to encourage you to come out February 7th, 7 to 9 p.m. It's going to be incredible. Let's celebrate. Let's have a great time for the first ever Faithustle night. I'll see you there. Welcome to the Faithustle podcast, where we help young Christian entrepreneurs learn how to build their business and careers God's way. My name is McQuenda. I'm your host. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 10 years. And in that time, I've had the joy and pleasure to be mentored and guided by some of the most successful entrepreneurs that were not just crushing it in business, but in their relationships, in their walk with God, and in every area of their life. They had a holistic view of success. And that was attractive to me. And that's what I wanted in my own life. And so here on Faith Hustle, we teach on 5 pillars. We teach on stewardship, on being spirit-led, on integrity, humility, and generosity. Those are the 5 things that we believe makes up someone that has a faith hustle. If that describes you, that describes what you're also pursuing in your business, I would encourage you to subscribe to the podcast wherever you may be listening to, whether it be on Spotify or Apple or YouTube, and comment and let us know where you're listening from. It would mean the world to us. As well as if you've been listening to this for a little bit, would you leave us a review? It actually matters and helps so much, and we would appreciate it because it gets the word out to more people so more people can be impacted in their faith hustle. Thank you so much for your support, all the incredible things that are happening and going on. We just appreciate you going on this ride with us. And today, I don't want to waste no time. I have my brother with me. He is a former NFL player turned 7-figure sales producer and business coach, helping people scale their companies from 6 to 7 figures and 7 to 8. Phenomenal brother, great friend, and someone that's a man of God that is just crushing it in all areas of life. And I think you're going to learn a lot from today. He also recently just got married, and excited for him. So I got my brother with me, Taylor, on the show.
What's going on, man?
Come on, man.
I love
Welcome
the intro.
back. Of course. And congratulations.
Thank you.
How you feeling?
I feel good, man.
Come on. You look rested.
Montana will do that to you.
Oh, come on. We were just talking about it. I still need to watch Yellowstone, but I've seen so many footage and photos from friends who've been going to Montana recently, and it just looks amazing.
It's a special place. It's beautiful, especially coming from Dallas. I mean,
right.
buildings to mountains, it's nice.
Exactly. It's very flat here, and there's not a lot to see. So I'm sure the landscape is not like anytime I go to Colorado or California, and it's just like it's stunning. Like it doesn't even look real. Like the mountains.
It took me a day or two to get used to it. It's like that's not a pain thing. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
It's nice.
It's not going away tomorrow. Yeah. Exactly. That's awesome, man. Welcome in, man. I'm super excited to dive right in, and I got a lot of different questions, but one, I want to give people context how we met. We met at church at Shoreline City. You've been going there for how long now?
Shoot, man, 3.5 years now.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And did you meet your wife there, or you guys met before?
We met prior. We didn't know we were going to the same church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not realize that. That's awesome.
So she was like, where do you go? And it's like, I go to Shoreline. She's like, I go to Shoreline. And I was like, I've never seen you there. So we just miss each other on, I guess, somehow.
It's easy too. I'd be missing people all the time, and people are like, "You go there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I go there." And like, depending on the service you go to, you might not, you might miss it.
Yeah.
But that's awesome, man. Yeah, like you said, you recently just got married.
I was there for the Lord, you know.
Of course. If you weren't there to meet a woman. Hey, listen, God will do what He wants to do. You know what I mean? It's better than any other place you can meet somebody, for sure. Man, so I'd love to get into your story, man. One, you're a former NFL player, which is super dope. I don't think we've had a former NFL player here.
Cool.
And you played how many years?
About 4 years was total time I spent.
Gotcha. And what teams do you play for?
Eagles, Vikings, Giants primarily, and then my last year when I got hurt, I shuffled around with a couple. But
gotcha. Yeah. I think I told you this last time we sat down. I am probably the biggest Eagles fan. Oh. I love the Eagles, and I know I'm in Dallas territory, and so I've literally have met people, and like we've gotten to know each other, and then they found out I was an Eagles fan. It's like, we can't be friends anymore. I'm sorry. They take it seriously down here.
I can't understand those people.
And they're serious.
I love the loyalty, but I don't know how.
Yeah, loyalty to a team that doesn't win. Sorry, some of y'all might have just tuned off right now, but it's okay. God bless you. But anyways, that's awesome, man. So you got to tell me a little bit of the backstory from football to the business world and that transition. What was that like?
So the transition period. First off, it was hard. You do something for basically the majority of your life up until that point. And then it's like, all right, cool. New game, new rules. Yeah. Everything changes. What's next? The first year or two was tough. Cause I was like, I got hurt too. So it wasn't like my timing. I was like, I want to be done. Let's be done. Yeah. It was like, all right, cool. Like my body's saying like, you're done.
Yeah.
And so my mind took a year or two to catch up to my body.
Yeah.
And so when I made the transition, man, it was, outside of it being tough, I learned, the reason it was tough too, because I didn't know I could transfer all the skills that I had learned in sports into business. I thought it was like, all right, cool. I got to start from scratch, build them all up again. And so once the time kind of eluded my emotions and my mentality got out of the way of me holding me back from like, no, like actually you kind of set yourself up really well by learning certain disciplines and habits that made you a top performer. You just got to change the industry. Now,
right. Yeah.
Right? Technically. Same way someone goes from job to job, right? Like, okay, I'm in sales. I'm with this company. I'm going to this sales in this company, right? Except what I was doing was different. That was the only big caveat in my mind that I thought was like I couldn't get over, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, made the transition out of sports into the business. Worked out great. The first guy I met with, he was like an executive at a big Fortune 500 company. And I just came out and was like, man, I just want to sit in the meeting, see what business is like, how you do it. So I just came to sit on one of the executive meetings, like not an interview, not anything. They pulled me aside after and it was like, hey, don't tell anybody this, but I'm leaving this company. I'm buying an insurance agency and I want you to help me run it. I'm like, okay, well, that's just turned into an interview. Yeah. I'm hired. Cool. So he's like, you just need to take a test in about a month's time and study in the past, and then you're good to go. And it's like, okay,
that's
cool.
Sweet.
I'll start studying.
What a setup, man.
So that's how I started. Got into insurance. Spent 3 years basically into that, and then transitioned into more like the business consulting, the business sales, all that kind of stuff, which has been a fun ride.
That's awesome, man. What a journey. And shout outs to that guy who I feel like every person that I've had on this show, there's one person, and sometimes there's multiple people, but there's usually a sage or there's someone that's, you know, a little seasoned in business or gone ahead who's kind of given someone that opportunity of like, hey, let me show you the ropes.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very critical time. And I would say everybody has different stories. Some people, they literally have to figure it out on their own. But it is a beautiful thing when you get to be under someone for, like, what's the biggest thing that you think you learned in that 3-year, 4-year time period being with this guy and working under him?
Yeah. His name's James Wheeler. So just like if he's ever watching, like,
shout out to James.
I want to make sure I shout him out. But, man, there's not one thing. There's a lot. But I really got, the cool part about it is I got to learn from like the ground up, grassroots, like we're going to build this from, it was a failing business that we bought to now we're going to make it successful and turn around and sell it. Like that was kind of the process of it. So I got to see like, okay, cool. How do you bring in people for hiring? How do you work with someone who's just getting started with the team? How do you go into a community that's brand new and like, hey, we're a new agency in town. How do you market that? Like I got to learn a lot of skills that I just wouldn't be able to learn if it wasn't like boots on the ground, right? Like you can't learn that in a textbook. You can't learn that from a video. You can't, like, there's only so much you can do before you actually have to do it. And you're like, oh, okay, that lesson I have to learn there. Right. And so there was a lot, just all avenues of business, marketing, sales, leadership. I mean, just seeing how, because he was an executive level guy, right? He was in a Fortune 500 company executive. I got to see how he operated in that setting. I got to see how he operated with people, with clients, we had very high net worth individuals that we represented, how he operated with them when they came to the office. So I got to like, there's a thing that Ed Milet is kind of the person I tagged it to now is like, you in life, you are, instead of what you're taught, you catch more like what you're, like you're sitting in the room, right? Like so I'm sitting in the room with you. I don't get so much on, how does he word it, man?
It's more what's caught than taught.
Correct. Yes, thank you. That really is how it was for that period of time. He didn't sit down and be like, hey, I'm gonna teach you everything. Yeah. But he sat me down and he taught me everything.
Exactly.
Right. So like there's a lot of things in that season that I just understood business way different. And the same thing happened again when I got into what I was doing with Ryan Stewman and Apex and all that kind of stuff. Same kind of deal. So I got like PhDs a little bit along the way, I felt like, in business from people that were farther ahead than I was. Yeah. And there was like, hey, I just got to see them how they do it. I don't like that. I do like that. Oh, that works. That doesn't work. Yeah. Right? Because they're trial and erroring sometimes too. Like they've never been somewhere as well. Right. So it's like, okay, I see them get to expose themselves. How did that turn out? Right. Okay, cool. The market says yes. Or market says no. Yeah. Or the market says, don't ever do that again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's pieces that I got to see without me having to necessarily do it. Right. Which helps. Right. No, I agree so much with that. And that honestly is my experience. I talk about it a lot. I had, one of my first business, I guess, mentors, you would say, was Dan Cobb. And same thing, like, yes, he would sit down and teach me different things, but it was more so I would see him in a pitch. I would see him, in a strategy meeting, a kickoff meeting. I see how his brain works. I see like the questions he asks or the things how he prioritizes, how he delegates. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, and some of it is like, was intimidating. I'm like, oh man, that's like, you're thinking on a whole nother stratosphere. And then other parts are like, oh, okay. Like it kind of, it helps me to see this is possible. And like it's a similar framework and it's just done. But I'm a huge believer of be a observant leader, right? Like I observe so much, and like being a student, like sometimes you just have to be in the game. And I think that's part of entrepreneurship too, is like, I didn't want to just sit and just read about how to do it. I want to get my hands dirty. And I think if you're an entrepreneur, like you have to have that instinct in you that you want to do that. I remember a good friend of mine, shout out to Muita Chacha, and he's been running a video production company for many, many years. I think almost 15 years probably at this point, and very successful. And he went to school for business for 4 years. And he said, man, I learned more in my first year of business than I did in the 4 years that I sat down learning about business. It's just something that happens. And so I'm curious, man, with your experience. So you're learning from him, you're studying under him,
and now you're taking these things and you're applying it. You're helping businesses. What have you seen in the application process from not just learning about it, but like actually putting it to practice? What have you seen has worked for companies that you're working with, or what are some of the stumbling blocks? And you're like, how have you been able to help them with that? Have you been wanting to start a Christian podcast, but you just don't know where to start? It's 2025, and you told yourself last year you were going to start that podcast. Well, trust me, I understand. Believe it or not, Faithustle was actually launched and started in 30 days from start to finish. And I believe you can do the same. Most people hesitate to start a podcast for a few reasons. They don't know where to start, they don't have the right equipment, and they don't know how to build a great show that can get traction. That's why I created the 30-day podcast course to teach you the methods and the exact model that I use to build out my podcast in 30 days. In this course, you will get 9 teaching videos that will show you how to find your unique podcast niche, how to find high-level guests, and how to conduct incredible interviews. You'll get a list of the exact equipment that you need to build out your show, and you'll learn the free and powerful marketing strategies to launch your podcast to the masses. What if 2025 could be the year that you start that podcast and impact thousands of people? Don't wait. Start today, and let's get that podcast launched.
Yeah, obviously every business is a little bit different because every leader is a little bit different and every team's a little bit different. Because every team's made up of people and every person is slightly different.
Yeah.
There's commonalities, of course, but there's always different nuances. For the most part, let's just call it a very high level leadership perspective, big companies, most of the time it's vision. And that sounds very simple, but it's a complex thing that is simple. We just don't understand, like, there's certain actions or habits that we have to maintain to keep it simple. And what I mean by that is a lot of times big companies lose sight of the vision. Either you see it a lot of times, like, I mean, a very easy one is as soon as like Steve Jobs leaves Apple, right? Like the visionary, the whole company kind of is like, "Whoa, where are we going?" Like we know we keep doing what we're doing, but like where's the innovative part? Like where are we going ahead of now?
Right.
Like when you lose that in a company, like generationally, if you have companies that are generational, handing them off, sometimes that's lost. However, it happens same times if you replace CEOs, like because their vision's different every time.
Yeah.
So like if you have a company that's, let's just take all like the craziness out of it and say it's one company, there's no transfer of CEOs or whatever. What you have to make sure is that everybody understands the vision, number one. That doesn't mean core values on the wall. That doesn't mean mission statement and everybody can rehearse it and regurgitate it back to you.
Yeah.
That's not what that means. What it means is, can everybody fit their vision as an employee of that company inside the vision that you created? If you can't, either you didn't communicate it to them well enough because they're not going to be driven to achieve their mission, which ultimately achieves yours, or two, it's not big enough.
Brilliant.
So like you got to figure out as a leader, am I lacking because I haven't spent enough time with my people to figure out how to connect that for them? Because most people can't do that on their own. Yeah. You may need to go one-on-one, meet with them. What's your vision? What do you want to accomplish in life, not just in this job? Right. Why did you pick this job? Right. Like, and connect that for them if they don't see it. Because most people can't, right? Sometimes the gift of an entrepreneur is they can see everything and connect the dots. Yes. Whereas some people that maybe haven't got to that level yet, maybe like an entrepreneur, and they're like, I want to be in it, but I don't know how to connect the dots yet. So sometimes if you connect the dots, one, you're teaching them a very valuable skill if they want to become an entrepreneur. Yeah. But two, you're helping them understand why they're doing what they're doing to a whole nother level. Yeah. Because you're putting them together. Because like, if I want to have my people be like, hey, you know what? I need you to work a little bit later today. I'm not going to walk in and be like, hey, I need you to work later today. Because I'm like, why? Right. Number one. And then two, I'm conflicting with all of their personal desires of what they want to accomplish. Right? Like otherwise they would leave at the normal time. Yeah. But if I understand their vision, I understand like each individual person, and I know it's going to happen, I'm going to try to like talk about those things of why it's important. If I come in and be like, hey, and I just leave it there, that's very generic. It's very cliche. That's very like, do what I say. Yeah. Instead of saying like, no, we're in this together. Let me remind you of it, right? It's like the same way in sports, you'd have halftime. Coach would come in probably, if you're if we suck, right? Like we're doing terrible, you'll have someone to come in, whether it be a motivational coach or whatever, like get you fired back up on the vision. Why are we here? Like, what's the whole point we set up before the season even started?
Yeah.
In business, you need that.
Yeah.
With your people, with your clients too.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't just stop internally. It goes outside too, because you're selling ultimately to become a part of your family.
Right.
Right. And then you're just servicing and they're paying you.
Yeah.
Versus you paying them on the back end.
Right.
That is number one. And that kind of feeds into culture, right? Obviously.
Right.
And if that's not right, then ultimately every business, if you actually want to build a business outside of yourself, you need people.
Yes.
Like you can't do it by yourself.
You can't escape that. Yeah.
Right. Like it's just, you're a solopreneur, not an entrepreneur. There's a difference.
Yes.
And so there is a space in which you have to create obviously a different way of thinking too. Because if we're always used to doing it by ourselves, we'll think of how to do it all by ourselves.
Yes.
And we'll cover ourselves, even if we have other people. I.e., we work with a lot of small businesses where it's, all right, cool. I got this problem. The people don't work hard. The people don't understand the vision as much as I do. The people don't get it. They're not willing to work as hard as I am.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I hear that a lot.
I hear that a lot too. and it's typically the guys like, if I'm following you, they usually have the mindset of like, man, it's harder for me to teach you how to do this. I'm just doing it myself.
Correct.
It's like,
that's where the vision of building a company dies. That thought right there. They don't realize it, but that's where it dies.
Yeah.
Because you can't involve anybody else and you can't hand it off because it's not, either it's too important to you or you don't know how to correctively understand that the time you're spending on them is actually time you're spending on the whole business.
Yeah.
Versus like, it's a waste of my time. I don't have time to do it. Well, you either waste time now or you just waste time for the rest of your life because you're not going to be able to have time because you're going to be doing it your whole self by yourself all the time.
Right.
So like it's your choice right now.
And I feel like there's ownership, there's buy-in.
Yeah.
Like even like, I mean, we go to Shoreline Church and I love that we don't call our membership thing members, we call them owners.
Yeah.
And it's like, we want you to own this.
It's very
vision.
strategic. Earl's a great leader.
He is a phenomenal leader. And I think in a similar way, like you have to give your team ownership that they feel like we're going somewhere with this. There's a bigger mission ahead, and your contribution, whether it's staying late or getting early, is like you said, like you got to know what their individual vision is and how it fits in here. But also, like, I think I heard that the one quote, if there's no goal, you can't score. Like, if I don't know what we're aiming for, I love Donald Miller, and in his book, he talks about how to grow a small business. He talks about like your mission statement should be very, numbers based. So like, hey, like here's the quantitative. Here's what we are going to accomplish this year in our mission, and we want to hit this, and if we do that, it's going to allow us to impact this many people for this reason. Here's the why of it. And so now I have, if I'm an employee, I got a mission ahead. Like all these things that we're doing, these initiatives that we're doing, they're leading to this bigger thing and for this deeper purpose. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it's just like, oh, we're just going to show up and we'll just hopefully do okay. And
make more money and hit our goals. Cool, but what are the goals?
Right.
Number one, and then why are those goals important to me?
Yes.
That's the big question I think a lot of guys miss is because... yeah, we can put, and I guarantee that guy does this, but to connect the point is like, okay, cool, in the mission statement, we put the numbers, but why are those numbers important to the person achieving them?
Yeah.
Because most likely the person that created those goals is not the person doing the everyday task to get it.
No.
Right? That's the fact. So like, as a person behind it that's building the thing, you have to make sure that they see that. Because if they don't, it's like, why am I building your dream?
Wow.
Because that's where they get stuck. That's where they find somewhere else that has more pay. That's where they find something else that they like more. You can't keep somebody for a long period of time. First Form is a phenomenal company that does this really well. I think they've lost 2 people in their entire existence of their company, and they have over 300.
Oh my gosh. They've lost 2.
I want to say it's like 2 to 3 from the original that came into the company. The rest of them have stayed. And so like obviously there's people that get fired and stuff like now, but the original ones that started, they haven't left. How do you do that in an industry and in a company? It's because that they're very, very clear in their vision. I mean, they're for example, they're known for this. They're energy drinks, right? And like in the stores or like gas stations or whatever, if you look for First Form, you'll see their logo facing on all of them. And it's not that the companies do it. It's that the people that know First Form know the standard of the company. They'll go in and fix it even if they don't buy it.
Really?
That's the level of clarity they've put.
Wow.
And the level of standard they've put not only on themselves, but on their people too, which gives ownership.
Yes.
Hey, like, where is a brand? You're a part of our family. Help us keep this brand strong.
Wow.
And that's ultimately what it should look like to the best way I've seen. And it's a perfect example of it, right? It's not about numbers. It's how are we as a collective, you included who's buying our product, make sure that this vision gets accomplished.
Yeah.
And has to be talked about constantly.
Yes.
There's never enough time. You can't like, they got it.
No,
they don't.
They probably
they had a bad day and they forgot.
Yeah.
Like that's the realistic piece. But ultimately that's what it kind of has to be.
Yeah.
Especially as the bigger you get. Small companies have to understand it too, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately that's the bigger conversations going into that.
Wow. Man, that's powerful, man. I think that's so, for anyone at any stage, especially if you aspire to build something that lasts, like you said, you're not going to do it without people. Whether you have outside talent and they're in the Philippines or they're local, it doesn't matter. I think the same thing applies. I love everything you said. I'd love to see, and one of the practical things I love that what you said of like, you have to say it a lot and you have to, it has to be repeated a lot. It made me think of, in a biblical sense where Paul talks about like, when he talks about communion, like do this often. Yeah. As you, in remembrance, almost saying like, I know you're going to forget. So make this a daily rhythm so that you don't forget. And I do think it is very tough to remember the why of what you're doing it. It's tough for me, in my own company, like, why am I doing this again? When you got a client that gets on your nerves or you have, a project that's stressing you out and you're like, why am I doing this? I love everything you said there with so much clarity that you have to say it often. It's got to matter to that person. So let's just say you have that business owner individual, they're used to doing things their way, and now they're saying, okay, the cog in the wheel is them getting in their own way. They got to paint a vision where there's why behind numbers. There's got to be a goal, and you have to make it relatable to each individual team member of, hey, here's why this matters to you. How do you make that connection, or how do you advise them to make that connection point of a business objective goal to an individual? Like, and obviously all of this is very like case by case scenario, yeah. But what's your like general wisdom in that?
First, I need to I like to do an individual like one-on-one if I can. Yeah. Because they can be more real. So point being, I say that is I need to know what's important to them. I need to know what to connect to. If I walk into a room with just a random strangers and just call it a gas station, I'm like, hey, you know what? You need to achieve these numbers. They're like, who are you? I don't know who you are. I don't even like that. Well, same situation with your employees. What do you like? Like, if I don't know that information, if I already know that and they're like my best buddy and friend, maybe they've never told me everything. Right. But maybe I know a lot more. That's different. Yeah. But if I'm walking in, I don't really know them. Yeah. I need to know them. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just guessing. Yeah. And they're gonna feel like I'm guessing. Ultimately, which makes them feel unheard, unseen, all the things you don't want in good culture. Yeah. Right. So that's where I'd start. And then once I know what I can connect to, then I make the connections that seem most real to them. Because let's just say I have a company where we're big on fitness. It's not a fitness company, but like that's what we embody. Yeah. And they don't care about it. That's not going to be something I connect to them with. Because that's just a waste. Yeah. Right? Like it's important. They understand it's important. Everybody knows that. Yeah. But it's not going to be a pillar I'm going to stand on. Right. Right? So, but if it's family, well, then I'm going to hit on family. Yeah. Like, why is family, how does achieving this help your family, help family rebuild? Like all of that, that's something different. So I have to get my hands dirty, if you will. I can't sit in my office with my cool suit on in the front of a whatever. I've got to go, and it's a people business. Yeah. So I've got to go get to meet the people, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I think the leadership takes a whole nother level from certain guys. And you get around, and I've had thankfully I have a fair share of being around some really good leaders where you walk in a room, you're like, I know his company's good.
Yeah.
And I don't have to see his company. I don't have to know what he does.
Wow.
I can just tell. I'm like, whatever you do, I know you're successful, and I know if you have a good team, that's why.
Wow.
Because it's like they carry I'm present, I'm open, I'm transparent.
Yeah.
And I'll help you see it too.
Yeah.
I want you to win so bad.
Yeah.
I'll win him. I already got it. I'm good.
Right. Yeah.
Because
yeah.
ultimately that's the case.
Yeah.
If we're in business and I help you win as much as possible,
Right.
I'm going to win.
Absolutely.
Like it's going to happen.
You're gonna
God
want
set
to
it up that way.
You're gonna want to work harder.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to show up early. You're gonna want to give it your best
100%.
in a place where you feel seen, cared for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
An easy way. Not everything's not about money, but let's just say in a sales world, the more money you make, I guess better way of saying that, in a sales world, most likely people will leave a company for more money.
Yes.
Most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. I'm using it as an example. So if I help them make the thing that they would leave a company for more of so that they never leave, why would they leave? You just eliminated 80% of your people leaving, right? Because that's their vision, that's their goal. Now, that's not always the case. Let's just call it 20%. It's culture. Because if they hate being there,
Right.
then that's a different, I'll go make money somewhere else. They can easily do that.
Yeah.
So then that's an important piece, right? So like you have to figure out what the people are, but I use the money because it's like everybody understands that, especially in sales. It's like, why do you come here? Well, I want to make more money than my last company. Okay, so we want to focus on that, but there's obviously other reasons why as well. Because if you love that company, you would sit a little longer and be like, how do I make it?
Right.
Which ultimately that's the goal of the leader in that moment. If they know that person's a high performer and they're not making as much as they should, it's okay, cool. I need to make sure I keep the culture tight. Then I need to go and be like, how do I make this person more money?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a more raving fan for me.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's going to be my marketing.
Yes.
My marketing dollars are going into spending the time with this person instead of going and hiring somebody else. Why?
Yeah.
Because he's an A player. He knows A players.
Right.
If he's crushing it,
He's
his
gonna
friends are
invite
gonna be
his
like,
friends.
what are you doing?
Right.
Oh, bro, this great opportunity. That person never has to hire again.
Yeah.
If you help that one person win, I guarantee you'll find one. If they find two, bro, you just got down to 4.
Yeah.
Like very fast.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I think if you're starting out in business, you need to lead to is like, how can I make the first 1, 2, 3, whatever, 4, whatever it is,
That's brilliant.
as successful and as fast as possible and continue that because they'll do all of the work for me.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're excited.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? Like they're not trying to figure out, all right, what's the vision? What I already know I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
And from a monetary perspective, I see in my account. From a culture perspective, I feel it when I walk in the door. Like they get it. You don't have to tell them anymore.
Yep.
And now it's just about spending time.
Yep.
Right? Like I value you. I see you no matter how big this company gets. That becomes now very, very important for those A players.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to micromanage those guys.
Right.
You don't need to walk and be like, hey, make sure you do this. Make
Yeah,
sure
yeah, yeah.
They got it.
Yeah.
They want to make sure they do it.
Yeah.
For you, then at that point, it's going in and being like, man, let's talk about life.
Yeah.
How are your relationships?
Right.
How's your family?
Right.
How are you doing? Mm-hmm. How is managing the team? How can I help you with your team? Different conversation than when it was at the very beginning.
Yes.
So it changes, but what the big mistake I see, and I'll kind of went off topic, but it kind of goes together, is the big mistake I see with big A players and companies and leaders is they got to figure it out. Leave them alone. Worst mistake. Why? If they're an A player and they can make a lot of money, they know they're A players that make a lot of money. They also have other opportunities to make other money. If they value them, oh, dude, I never talk to my boss. I never talk to anybody. I just go to my room and I just do my thing. How's your company? Like, oh, bro, like we're a family.
Oh yeah, people are
right. Like
people are not passively. The amount of people in a job that are on Indeed, on your job, in your business.
Yeah.
I love that because I think sometimes we think, oh, like they're A player, they'll figure it out. It's such a passive approach, and then you wonder, man, where'd my people go? Why, like, and you get shocked. They're like, they put in their notice, they're like, what do you mean?
I thought you were doing well.
Yeah,
I was. How'd you know? I ain't seen you in 2 months.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so if we can't never forget, we're in a people business.
Yeah.
As soon as we get so into the weeds of like strategy, strategic numbers, blah, 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 or wherever, and we forget the people,
Yeah.
you're going to lose the people.
That's
Like, it's just the truth,
That's
right?
brilliant.
Like,
yeah.
because they can't see you. If you hold, for example, like I hold the vision here and I can't see you, I lost sight of the vision. That's where most leaders stand.
Wow.
Right? Like that's the truth. So
that's so
you have to
good.
get close to them so they can see it. If you're the visionary and you're not close to the people, they probably can't see the vision.
Wow.
Just because it's on the wall does not mean it's there.
No. And I mean, man, so much of this is so good. I think my perspective, and I remember I was in this, I was consulting a company along with my mentor, $100 million e-commerce business. And we're asking them questions of like, what made you choose to stay in this company? And they all, I mean, some of them are darn near crying. They're pointing to the CEO. They're like, the way he leads, the way, and all that culture point stuff, it was just a description of the leader. And so a lot of times, we make these, that might be what the culture is on paper, but what's felt is typically very different. And it's how you come to the table and how you lead. What I'm getting out of this, for those who are watching and you're taking notes and you're trying to think it for your business, I think part of it is like the first person you have to sell is not the customer, it's your own people.
Great point.
And I think it's like you have to be just as passionate to sell your own people.
And not just once, not just when they came into the door.
Yep.
Every single day.
Yes.
Because guess what? They're getting sold something 30 times a day.
Them Indeed ads, them LinkedIn ads hit their inbox every single day.
Social media.
Yep.
TV.
Do you like where you work?
Like just everything. They're getting sold something. They're also like, people are getting sold a vision on social media. Like highlights of a vision.
Yeah.
Which distorts their vision.
Yes.
So if you're not constantly in front of them, feeding them the right vision, their vision is getting distorted every single day.
Wow.
And then eventually over time, 3-4 months pass, they don't even see what you see anymore. And you're like, bro, you were just fine.
Right.
Yeah, but you left me unattended.
Wow.
Right? Like
vision can get lost very easy. That, it's funny, like since we've been talking about this, I'm loving this direction. This is so fun to me because I love this stuff. Probably the best example, because I know you mentioned sometimes from generation to generation or from CEO transferring to CEO, it can be very tough. The company that I do, and I have seen close up where I was, they were a client of mine through an agency I worked with, is Chick-fil-A. From Truett Cathy to Dan Cathy. I think they did a brilliant job. And I don't know how much you know of that. He literally had them sign a contract of like, hey, 1, you'll never sell. 2, like, here's values that I want you to stand by. Like, you're never going to open on Sundays. And here's why. And like several things of like, hey, I want you to like make a covenant, a vow, and a contract. These things that are like the foundation for us, we're never going away. I remember when my mentor, like when they first had their first meeting with Dan, I think it was in some of their pitch meetings. Dan Cathy is literally at the boardroom table. He starts the meeting. He opens up the Bible, shares the scripture, prays. It's like, all right, we can get with the meeting. And they're like, oh, this is a perfect client for us. And I think from what I've seen close up in that organization, is their obsession with their own people, their obsession with development, their obsession with, especially in the industry where like you're working with mostly teenagers. They have developed such a cult-like culture within the organization that people will stay with them for, years and years and years, and we'll just continue to level up with them. I think there is, and obviously that makes an impact in sales. I think Chick-fil-A, out of almost all quick service restaurants, they do the most per restaurant. They do almost $4 million per restaurant compared to like McDonald's that does like 2.
Oh yeah, the numbers are staggering.
It's actually,
and they're open one less day.
Open one less day, bro.
And they destroy everybody. Yeah,
which is insane in private money. Like this is wild. It's wild. And I think what we can take away, Faith Hustle community, for your own business, what I would love for us to get from this is, 1, you got to have a vision, and it's got to be clear, and you have to sell your own people on it, and you have to sell them every single day. Now, in doing that and putting that to action, what have you seen the impact that has made on businesses that have gotten clear on their vision. They have connected it to their people and have sold their people on it. What's the difference that makes in a company?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you've got people that are on board. You've got, I mean, not only a clear vision that people can buy into, not only your people, but the people you sell to. You have raving fans. You definitely make more money.
Yeah,
that's just a hands down. That's not ever the motive, but it will be a byproduct. The fascinating part is we always try to go for the money first and try to get these. Usually it's these that get the money.
Yeah.
Which is crazy how that works, because it's a biblical practice.
Yeah.
And then ultimately it's more enjoyable. You can just see it, right? Like people aren't coming in there's stress in jobs. Don't get me wrong. No matter what job you're in, no matter how good the culture is, there's always going to be that. But if you have like a whole body of people behind you, it is a lot more manageable. Emotionally, strategically, mentally. There's just a different, you feel supported.
Yeah.
And that's not like something you can like, hey, go support me. It's like, no, I feel it. You don't have to tell me, I just know you are.
Right.
That is created. You don't just like walk in one day and say, hey, it's fixed.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's like, all right, cool. Like everybody's got to be on board, right? Maybe you fix overnight if you got one person in your office.
Right.
But if you got 400, you got to get all 400 on board.
Right.
It takes everybody's process is different.
Yeah.
But ultimately, those are at least 4. There's a ton more.
Yeah.
When you do it right, when you do it really well, you can outdo innovation.
What do you mean by that?
So you have to innovate 100%. But if someone's more innovative than you, slightly as a big company, but you're doing all those other things right and the vision's clear and everybody's bought in, they'll stand by you no matter if someone is a little bit further ahead. Easy example. Let's just use Apple is ahead, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other phones that have better cameras. There's a lot of other phones that are bigger, that fold, that do a bunch of different things that are more, call it high tech if you want.
Right.
Bigger memory, whatever you want, than Apple does. But they've created a vision that everybody buys into, the creativity, the ease of use, like all the things that like you just don't pay attention to it.
Right.
And you're bought into that. Until it's a needle mover for you, particularly at large, they've done such a good job that it's like, I don't need that. I want this.
Right.
Because they've created a vision around it.
Yeah.
And they won't, your eyes don't look for it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's funny because my parents have an Android, but I have this, right? And so they get new phones like, oh, look at all these new things. I'm like, it's like,
I don't care.
It's like, you
got the green bubble.
Yeah. And it's very like, everybody understands. That's why I use it. But like on every single business, they have that same element where it's like, okay, cool. Here's the industry leader. Here's a person that's cutting edge. But like, even if the person that was cutting edge like came above them in like innovation, I'm still gonna go Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like for example, when all that stuff came out with all the all the allegations they were facing, the people that really supported them, the next day the lines were down the street.
Oh no, my dad was like a mile in traffic to go to Chick-fil-A.
But that's the point, right? It's like I don't care what other businesses are doing, innovative in culture, society, or whatever. No, I'm all in, and I'll even show my support.
Yeah.
Like I'll wait to show it.
Absolutely.
Like so like there's that when it's done well, those are easy byproducts.
Yeah. Like I think of Tesla, like how
perfect example.
Like there's a ton of car companies that are going all electric. GM, they're like I think
2040.
2040, they're all electric.
That's what they said. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they made a whole deal with Netflix where they were like only showing GM electric vehicles like from now until whenever. But your Tesla still in the minds of people is far surpassing them because they have a visionary. Whether you like him or not, he's controversial, but like he's got such a big vision ahead. People are so Tesla people, they purchased or secured their Cybertruck like 2 years in advance before it actually was done.
Yeah.
I actually might have been more than 2 years. Like they had it on waiting, not even knowing what the actual like truck would look like just from the prototype. because there is a vision that they feel.
And they know the leader, which Elon Musk in the situation, will deliver.
Yeah.
Over and over again. So
right.
like, my money's not going down.
Yeah.
Everything he's touched has gone up.
Yeah.
For the most part, right? Like,
yeah.
So I'm basically securing it because I'm secure in the person that's leading it. Right? So that's the same idea. Like when a company does well, their people will also sacrifice as well because they know the leader is going to put them in a better position.
Yeah.
Or they're going to move forward in some way.
Yeah.
And they won't get left behind. They won't, whatever. He'll do what he has to do to make it good.
Yeah.
That's when you'll just know.
Yeah. So basically, if I can sum up what you're saying, and I think what we can learn, if you want to scale your company, the leader has to get better. Like the leader has to become more obsessed with the vision, has to be better at communication to make it clear, and has to sell their own people on the vision constantly. Like it basically sums up like, I mean, that's what John Maxwell says, that like everything rises and falls on leadership. Like your company, your organization is going to rise to the level of the leader, the law of the lid. And so it's like it's only going to grow to the capacity that the leader is growing.
Yep.
That the leader is involved in, and sure, there are, I don't even know, I don't like the term passive, but because I really haven't seen a lot of passive companies, but like passive businesses where it's like I'm not really giving that much effort to it, but it's still going. It's like it could be going, but it might not be growing. Like any business owner that I have seen that are in a growing business, yes, the systems may be simple, but it's an active process where that business owner is involved on a day-to-day basis to make that thing grow.
Or they have trained up other leaders to be that person.
Yeah.
That's when you really do it well.
And their investment is in the people.
Correct.
But no matter what, you are making an investment in it, whether it's your hand on the plow or your hand leading the people whose hands are on the plow.
Correct.
But at some level, like your influence has to still be in it.
Yeah. And that's another piece that you mentioned I want to hit on is like when you start developing in order to build and scale companies, good leaders not only need to develop themselves, they also need to develop other leaders.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like, hey, I want you to be successful. Like there's that part, right? Like there's people in your company that, let's just call them, there'll always be a salesperson. Like there's that person.
Yeah.
They're not a leader really, but they know how to lead sales. They know how to go get money or whatever for themselves, so to speak. Now they can be great leaders. They can. Not all of them will be or want to be. But you ultimately have to develop leaders in the company to be able to lead everybody else for you too. To where that now you have like, I got 5 people I meet with and those are all leaders. Then those people go meet with people. They meet with 10. And then those 10 meet with 20 and then 30. And now we met 400 and I met with 5.
Wow.
But everybody had the same vision, the same streamline because we've all spent time from the visionary and then it's weeded itself down.
Brilliant.
But if you don't create other leaders, you have to always be the leader.
Yeah.
Everything rises and falls on you. How cool would it be and how beneficial it is if you got 10 people it rises and falls on?
Yeah.
Right? One day you may not be feeling it, but your 9 other guys you've helped lead carry you. Big difference.
That's so good.
Right? That's how big multi-million, billion-dollar companies do it. Is because they've got 80,000 employees.
Yeah.
Which means they've probably got 20,000 leaders.
Yes.
That's a lot of leaders. Right?
That's a lot of leaders.
One person could not lead 82,000.
No.
It's not possible.
No.
Not enough time, not enough human touch, not enough connection. It's just not possible. But somewhere along the line, someone had to say, you know what? I need to take ownership. I need to take responsibility. You're in charge of those people. And it's not, that part people understand in business. I got to do that. Cool. Where the ball gets dropped is you haven't spent enough time with that person you just handed your people to. They're stirring up the pot in a negative way or moving the vision the wrong way because you're not spending enough time with them. And so now your vision is getting distorted by your own person you put in leadership.
Wow.
But we don't see it because it's like, oh, he gets it. That's not, people don't just naturally get it. Just like I can't read your mind. You can't read my mind.
Yeah.
Same thing happens in business.
And you have to give someone access and proximity to you.
Proximity is huge.
Which, again, if we want a biblical perspective of this, that's Jesus and the disciples.
Yep.
Like, I think what people miss of Jesus's journey of those 3 years, I mean, you talk about the greatest leader that ever lived.
Correct.
In 3 years, he put in those leaders that we are still 2,000 plus years later are following that example. And he had one that was bad, right? Like, you know, so you're going to have people that like get it, that don't get it, right? But he invested into those leaders, and he didn't just invest principles of like, oh, do this, this teaching this. He invested DNA. Like, he invested like one of the things I love is like, yes, he taught them how to pray. Like, he gave them like a method to pray, but he also was like, hey, come with me as I pray.
Yep.
Like, hey, here's how to do a miracle. Here's how to pray for one. Watch me heal this woman, right? Like, they saw him, and then they had times for trial and error. Like, they would go out, like, hey, we tried to deliver this demon out of this boy, this person, and didn't go away. He's like, oh, let me show you this. This only comes out prayer and fasting. Like, there was trial and error. There was like this give and, you know, this ability to make mistakes, but it was all proximity based.
Yeah. When you have proximity, people aren't afraid to approach you. Big problem in business.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I totally get that. Where you're like, man, I have this question, but I don't want to look dumb.
Correct.
And I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing, and you just hired me and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm afraid to ask. It happens definitely more often than you think.
Way more than you think.
Yeah.
Because people won't tell you they think it. Right?
They just won't do it right. Yeah.
They just won't. And then that right there, that thought process is what stops innovation in companies, right? Because if you're going to do something new, you're most likely going to be doing something new that's not thought of, could fail. If you have a culture environment where it's like, I'm afraid to approach with something that's new, you're never going to get anything new unless you think of it. You just stunted your growth and stunted your vast reach to people by probably 100%.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You hurt yourself in a lot of ways by not creating that. And that's why I said earlier, when like I'm around certain leaders, I'm like, I know they have a good company, is because there are certain people when you walk in, you're like, I don't know. I feel like I can connect with that person.
Yeah.
I feel like they're open. I feel like they don't make me feel dumb.
Yeah, they're
like,
safe to talk to.
They're
yeah.
safe. Like, I feel like they actually care. That type of individual that can do that in like a moment, like it's just the way they carry themselves, and can actually believe it. Like, you can't like fake.
No.
I care about you.
No,
you just can't. You can say like, bro, I care about you so much, and you're like, bro, you're just lying. What do you want?
Yeah. Exactly.
But there's people like, no, I don't need anything from you for real. Like, what do you want? Like, that when you get that into the DNA of the company, you'll have all those things that you want, truly. And so, yeah, it does rise and fall on leadership. It does. But ultimately, you have to become somebody. Like you said, Jesus is a perfect example of a great leader. He gets this is the best way to determine leadership too. Like, if you were to ask your brand new person that you just hired in that position, what would be the greatest thing that you could, like, if I gave you if I asked you, like, what would you want exactly in order to be here? They'd probably be like, well, all those different things that he did. I want to see what it looks like. I want to see you do it. I want to be in the environment. I want to be in the room. Everybody's like, I want to be a mosquito in the room. Yeah. Put me in the room so I can actually be there.
Right.
Like, it's okay. But most people now, what happens, unfortunately, it still works. I'll send you a recording of the call. Why don't you just put me in the chair next to you on the call? Different. Why? I catch more than the video. Because all I see is your face. I don't see how you're moving. I don't see what you're writing down. I don't see everything. I don't see you I don't get this full scope. For example, if I'm sitting over here watching this podcast, I get way more. I'm like, if I'm trying to figure out how to do a podcast and like figure it out, I get way more. 'Cause I'm like, okay, camera's there. There's more I catch.
Yeah.
Same thing in business. Same thing in a board meeting. Same, like, if I get to sit in and watch,
that's so good.
There's more there. Jesus does that.
Yep.
Let me invite you in to my life.
Right.
And let me invite you part of my family. First Form doesn't, I like bring them up again. They do a great job because, and next, like, there's Sal Frisell is basically the CEO that runs the company. Andy Frisell is like they kind of tag team him.
Gotcha.
But Sal calls all those people his kids.
Wow.
But it's not like, you can't just go be a leader and be like, oh, I'm gonna call you my kids. Right? Like, there's that's felt.
Yes.
Or like they call you dad. Like, you're my dad I never had. Like, people will say that. You don't have to tell them to say that. Right? And so when they start telling you that, you understand I'm creating an environment where they feel that.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what you want to do. I'm not going to brainwash them to say this.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
Oh, they're just saying, okay, cool, I'll go with this for this person.
Right.
But ultimately you create it where it's like, that's a family. These are my people I'm caring for. They're not my blood family, but they're my family.
Yeah.
Jesus is the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to sacrifice my own blood for my
family, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a lot of different things where that leadership is, those 12 went on to do a lot.
Yeah.
And create a lot more. And then now we're like, okay, like that's what it's supposed to look like. And it's simple.
Yeah.
But sometimes, just like it's very simple, it can be very, very, very hard because consistency is hard.
Yes.
Showing up every single day. I don't feel like it today. I got to be on it. Now someone's watching me.
Yeah.
Be on it.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I'm not on it. I got to be transparent. I got to tell you I'm not.
Yeah.
What are you going to think of me then?
Right.
There's got to be a lot of like surety in yourself as a leader, which I think is that's the biggest struggle, I think, in my opinion. They don't have a surety enough in themselves to let people see them when they're not good.
Yeah.
And so they'll only want to see the highlights, just like social media.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you all the cool parts.
Of course. Yeah.
Which you should.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, your people get to see everything else.
Yeah.
So I think that's why a lot of leaders distance themselves. All right. Like, I don't want to get too close. One, because if I have to fire you, like, I don't want to, that's going to hurt. Right. That's a scary thing that people really think about.
It does. Yeah.
But ultimately what's going to happen is you never know where that person could go if you were to step in.
Yeah.
You just don't. So you're basically saying like, I'm too scared to fully commit.
So I'm just not going to get,
do it.
Man, I saw a thing on LinkedIn. This is years ago. And I might have said it before on the podcast, but it was this kind of meme. And it was like, what if we invest so much into our employees and they leave? Yeah. And then the response was, what if you invest nothing and they stay? And it's like,
it's a great response.
They don't get developed. Your business doesn't grow. So it's like, and the same thing with Jesus. Like, would you tell Jesus, don't invest your life in everything
into these 12 people?
Because one guy is going to betray you. Yeah. Like one guy is going to literally lead you to your cross. Yeah. And I think we have seen, there is a certain leadership style that is very like closed door, right? No proximity, right? Very hierarchy. You can feel it. Yeah. Where it's like,
my door's open, but if you walk in, what you got?
Exactly. Don't talk to me. Yeah. I'm here. You're here. And obviously, I'm not talking like buddy. Like, you got to get stuff done. But like where you don't feel comfortable to go up, all those different things, I have seen up close that style of leadership. And there is a revolving door in there of people. And
it always will be.
But when we go to Jesus, again, like this whole podcast is doing business God's way. It's like, okay, what was Jesus' leadership style? It was not that. It was, hey, come follow me. The whole part of a rabbi there was like 3 sections of how a rabbi would train their students. It was 1, be with them, become like them, then do what they did. But the first step, like you have to be close. You have to have proximity to this because culture's only felt, it's only caught, right? So it's not just what you say. It's got to be what like you got
to be in the proximity to catch it.
Do you see how like and even like I love some of the anecdotes in Scripture where like Jesus will teach to a crowd and then it literally will say he'll turn to his disciples and teach a whole nother lesson. Like, see why I did that? Yeah. He's giving them little leadership anecdotes of like while he's doing it in real time. Like that to me as a leader. And it is vulnerable because we're not on all the time. We are human. We make wrong calls. We make bad decisions. We lose our temper at times. And it's one of those things that you have to kind of be okay with of like, hey, like for the result that I want of building a company with leaders who are bought in, because that's what's actually going to build this thing, I got to take the risk to be vulnerable. I got to take the risk to let people in. Knowing that, yeah, they could hurt me. Mm-hmm. They hurted Jesus. They nailed him to a cross, funny enough. Yeah. And like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, we are in very good company of leadership, and that's like I heard it was a quote from Scooter Braun, and he talked about more being a coach because how he coaches his artists, and he said he learned from his dad. His dad, he like coached AAU basketball, and he said that it always pained him because he saw all the long nights and all the things that he did to prepare, that his teammates just didn't see and they took advantage of. And his dad told him one time, he's like, son, as a coach, what you sign up for is that the wins are yours and the losses are mine. And he was like, that's what you sign up for as a coach. Like the wins, that's for you. That's all. And the losses I take on as myself. And it's like, if that doesn't sound exciting to you, then like leadership is not something that you need to be in. Like it's because that is the cost. That's to do something great, to build something great, and to do it with people. This is the path. Mm-hmm. And I think that's brilliant teaching, man. I think we've gotten so many practical things from this. I guess last question that I have for you, man. Well, one, I love to hear like what you're excited about. What are you working on now? How can people get, connected with you? Because I really do. I would love people just to continue to learn from you and how you teach leaders. Man, if you had one piece of wisdom for a newer entrepreneur, someone that is just getting started, right? They're like, hey, I aspire to have teams of people. I only have maybe one assistant, or I'm a solopreneur right now. But they want to have that. They want to be that visionary leader. What would you suggest to them? What would you tell them? Hey, I would work on this right now at the stage you're in.
Yeah. And so just so I'm clear, so I want to make sure I answer it correctly. What stage is that person at that's asking that?
Imagine they're just starting.
Just starting.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like other company. They're just starting to build it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll just say they have no confines of like, they've never been around it. So first proximity is power. Like it just is, right? So you've got to get around what it looks like or what it should look like. If you can't get around it physically, I would really try to. Yeah. If you can't, I need you to pick up a book or watch a video, watch something that gives you a better frame of reference to where you can actually see through, right? Basically, you need a new set of lenses on of leadership, right? Yeah. So if I'm going to, I wear contacts, right? And if I couldn't see and everything's blurry because I don't know what it looks like, and I look at that camera and I've never seen one before, I don't know what that is. Hey, it's a camera because everybody says it's shaped like one, but I don't know what it actually looks like. Right.
Because you've never seen it.
I've never seen it. But if I go into the optometrist, right? That's what it's called.
I think so, yeah.
Then they go in and like, click, you know, you're A or B, which one's better, one or two. And then sooner or later, when I'm around people that can do that for me, and I see it, like, oh, that's what it's supposed to see. And then I'm like, oh, that's a camera. That's what it's supposed to look like. Now, from now on, I know what's not a camera. Very easy to determine now. I'm like, that's not that. That's not that. I've eliminated, my game becomes elimination now. Yeah. Right? Because now I see the target and I know I'm supposed to hit. As soon as I miss, I'm like, I missed by 2 inches. Okay, cool. Why'd I miss? Versus this whole room, I don't know where I look. Right. That's a lot more daunting. Yeah. Right? So ultimately, proximity is number one. Get around it, whether you see it, read it, like actually in the room with it. That would be number one. And that'd be like a very high stressor because you got to see what you don't see.
That's so good.
Right? Because I don't care how good or how hard working you are. If you don't know you're on a certain bike. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, that's a street bike, but you're riding in the mountains. Yeah. But you don't know. You're like, well, this is always what I've always known. Yeah. But why don't you change the tires out? You really get some good traction. Right. You wouldn't know unless someone else that has seen that before shows you. Yeah. Same idea. So that's number one. Number two is, I mean, obviously that's part of self-development, but you've got to, and how everybody has a certain way of doing it, but you've got to, if you don't already have it, you've got to get a people first mentality. And it's not just like, yeah, that's important. That's not mentality, right? It's almost like a core value of you personally. Yes. Of like, no, I want people to truly win. Not with like the underlying theme of
I can.
Right. That's how people think. It's like, no, I want you to win. I'm like, but if you suck and you waste my time, bro, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
That's it. That's not it.
Right.
What is it is like, bro, I want you to win. I'm gonna win. Now I want to help you win too.
Right.
Like there's a difference there. And I think when you're starting out, that's a hard one to do because every moment you're working is like, you don't have excess of cash. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
You don't have excess of time because you're the only one doing it. So when you're first starting out, it's very hard to delegate your time, your money, your resources to somebody else. You're like, I don't know if they get it.
Yeah.
Like I do because I just came up. Like I'm the one leading the ship.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what you have to do is what I think Jesus does really well. I'm going to invite you to follow me around. Picture them like how if you were to have a cameraman follow you around all day and they're on staff, like your staff, they followed you. That's how they need to be. So they're not holding a camera, but their eyes are the camera.
That's so good.
Right? Like, so cool. You're with me all the time. You're going to my car. You're having lunch with me. You're going to hang out with the family. You're going like, you're a part of my life. I'm making you a kid basically of my life. Mm-hmm. If you're starting out and you really want to build something special, you start doing that with 1, start doing it with 2. Once you get to 3, you can start having a group, right? Like, cool. Y'all meet, you come meet with them. You're not going to bring 5 people to my house with my family or my kids, but I can bring 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So like you start get to that, but those other 2 that you had, they start implementing some of those things. Same way the disciples were like, no, John, remember Jesus said this? Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how they do it because they were with Jesus when they said it. So that's how they start teaching themselves.
That's so good.
But you have to first be the one that goes like,
come in
here.
Yeah.
Let me show you what it's supposed to be like. Let me I think that's what good leaders will build is the whole, like, it's not buddy, but it is like, dude, you're a part of the family. Come on. Like, literally, let me take you with me. And I'm not, if you really are for this, I'm all in.
Right.
I'm not, there's nothing I'm holding or hiding from you.
Right.
And that's where I think the leadership can go array is I'm only going to show you certain parts.
Yep.
Now, the only part you shouldn't show, in my opinion, early on is financials. Like, I'm just going to put that out there because, like, don't show them everything.
Yeah.
No, like, don't show them financials. You can show them how, like, the company itself at large, right? When you get to a certain point, you're going to have somebody manage that. But early on, it's like, no, like, I'm focused on showing them my life, focusing on the vision, focused on helping them connect the dots, helping them make more money. That's where they need to be focused on is their money, not the money at large. Yeah. Because you have expenses. You have things you have to run. You have actual, you're spending all of the effort, time. You have to make it all work because they don't have a job if you don't work.
Yes.
And put all the things in place.
Yeah.
And spend money to make it 2 months from now.
Right.
I want my check now. I can double it in 2 months if you help me do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain things, but ultimately it's got to be like, all right, we're in this journey for life together. Let's go.
I love that.
That's what Jesus does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come to the mountain. We're going to go pray.
Yeah.
All night.
Come on.
Right? Like, there's nothing on the schedule.
Yeah.
but that.
No.
That's when you're like, okay.
It has to become second nature. And I think I've seen it in churches. I've seen it in great businesses where you can see almost the disciples, if you will, of that business. Of if it's done really well, the people who are underneath the leader, they'll sound like the leader. Yep. Like you sound like him. Heck, you dress like him. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're saying the same verbiage. You're handling a meeting in a very similar way. Yep. Like,
so you know you've done it right.
Yeah.
It's a carbon copy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's copy and paste. It's a very similar touch. Whether you like it or not, like culture has been embedded. Like, it's not just a task list. It's like, no, here's a way of doing, being, how a vantage point of perspective. Like, I think that's beautiful. And I think that really is the next level of leadership. And that does impact revenue. That does impact business growth and objectives and all those different things is when you can, because I think we always say, like, oh yeah, I got to duplicate myself. So it's like, all right, I just got to hire more people. And it's like, yeah, but you have to duplicate. Part of duplicating yourself is like, you have to actually spend time with somebody to not just like, hey, here's what I do. Here's the task of what I do is like, here's why I do it. Here's the heart of why we're doing this. Here's the culture. Here's like, Because like you said, we're people, we're complex, and like we do want to belong to something. And again, you can ignore everything we just talked about, and that's fine. And you will get people who are only going to be with you on a transactional basis because you pay their check. And as soon as something gets shaky in the business or a better opportunity arises, well, they weren't really with you for anything else than this check. So it's like another opportunity arises. Sorry, adios. I gotta go.
Yeah,
this is just a check.
Yeah,
this isn't.
And there will always be those people. Yeah, there will. But I will say, when you do it well and you do it right, it will be, even for those people, that check will have to be substantial. Yeah. To make them leave. Yeah. Because they're like, I've seen it, I've heard it. It's like, man, I could go over here and work, but I would be missing so much. And it's the extra 50 grand is not worth it. Yeah. Which sounds crazy. Yeah, yeah. But you're like, every day being miserable,
right? To start over
and already make this much. Like 50 for me is not that big of a ticker. Like it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, that's when you're like, all right, like we did something right. Because like ultimately, you can never say you have to stay. Yeah, you can't. Right. All that work has been done prior to that moment, and if you haven't done it that last minute and be like, hey, we'll give you an extra bonus of an extra $100,000. Yeah. Maybe you keep them. Yeah. We just keep doing that every single year. Right. Like, what are you doing? And also, what are they creating throughout the year? Yeah. Right. They're creating a culture as well. That's like, nah, like I got 100K. Cool. Like you do the same thing. Yeah, like, so then now you're paying people to be there on top of, you know what I mean? Like, so that's a culture creation in a different direction. Yeah. So it's very important. The little nuances, stuff like that matters. That's brilliant. And I think it does go all back to Bible. I love that. Man, this has been so good, man. Dude, how can people get connected with you? What's some next steps that they can take? Maybe they want to learn from you. What do you have? Yeah, man. So easiest way is obviously all social media platforms. Right. Yeah. Instagram, you just type my name in. All of them are thankfully verified from sports. Hey, there you go. So it's very easy to find. Yeah. One with a check or whatever. Facebook, Instagram, I'll respond to all of them. And then I typically give my phone number out, but now that I'm married, I'm a little more cognizant of it. So, but point being, I used to like always just give my cell phone out. Yeah. But now I'm a little bit more thoughtful with it. So just a DM. Yeah. DM, and I'll send you my cell phone number from there, so I can check it out. Yeah, exactly. And then, so that's probably the best way, social media, and then I'll give you my cell phone number. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, I'd love to talk. I'm open to helping like anybody, anyway. I'll hop on a phone call with you later. Like I'm super open. Yeah. And I know you are. And man, this really does mean a lot to me for you to be here. It was such valuable wisdom, and I learned. I'm growing. I'm like, oh man, those are good reminders. And I think for this is so huge. The practical wisdom you gave. So thank you so much, man, for investing in this community, bro. Absolutely, anytime. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of the Faith Hustle podcast. We hope you were encouraged, inspired, and feel equipped to walk out your faith hustle. If you want to come on this journey with us in growing in our business and faith, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, whether it be on audio platforms like Apple or Spotify or YouTube. We would love to take this journey with you, and we can't wait to see what God does in your business. We look forward to seeing you soon.